Hi everyone, it's Eileen from Now There's a Crafty Idea, and I promised you a tutorial on how I make my little flowers. You saw them when I did them on the sewing journal. I just popped them on, and these ones are made out of book page. And a few people have asked me to show you the tutorial, so here we go. This is by no means my idea. I saw this on Pinterest. I've seen it from various different Pinterest pages, but if you just type in paper flowers, there are so many different types, but I'll show you how I do these anyway. So these are just a few that I've made, and you can make them any size, and what dictates the size of the flower is the size of the circle that you cut. So each one of these is made with 13 circles of paper. And if you choose to cut the circles that size, that's what size your flower ends up being. So you just need to find something circular, or you know, if you've got a circle punch, like I just use my circle punch. And for the little ones, if I can find it, I do have another circle punch somewhere, and there it is, I've got it. And I just use this one, which I think is a 1-inch circle punch, and that's the one I use for the very little ones. For any other sizes, like this size, I just find something circular and draw around it. I think this one, I use the inside of this tape and then just cut them out. So really it's a very simple, very cheap way of making a beautiful decoration. Now, some of them I've made with book page, some have been made with music page, and I've even made a couple with the pattern instruction paper. And I think that they look lovely with any kind of paper, really. I haven't made them yet with a coffee dyed paper, which I think I might make a few for future projects. But these bigger ones, I tend to use these when I'm wrapping presents, or if I've got a big project that requires a nice big focal point. And I just use whatever I've got to hand. Like I've got these ones, they've got nice little gems in them, and buttons. A wooden button, and this is some old jewellery, because I've got a collection of old jewellery that I like to take apart. You know, it's just junk jewellery. I buy it from a local flea market, and I take it apart and use the elements, and you get some really nice elements doing that. And these are just some little flowers. I don't know if you can see that very well. I'll show you. So it's just like a little rose type thing, and that's basically, you know, that's all you need. Just some old buttons, some plastic jewels, which you can get from any like little craft shop. You can even get them from the pound shop or the dollar store. I've used the little seed pearls on these, which is like the heart. These are not seed pearls, sorry, they're half pearls. Again, I got them from the pound shop. And that's about all you need, really. So what I'll do is I'm going to pop these out of the way, and as you can see, they're very easy to store as well, because they just store on top of each other. There you go, and all you need is a box to pop them in. So I keep a load made for, like I say, for Christmas time, or for if I'm wrapping up a birthday present. And then these little ones, these sizes, I'll use these in junk journals. They're really nice for a cover, like the cover decoration that I showed you with the sewing journal, but they're also really nice to put on the page because they're not very thick. They've got a little bit of thickness to them, but they're not very thick, so you can have them on a page. And I tell you what they're really, really excellent for is making the little covered paper clips, because you can pop one of them on with a circle of paper on the back onto your paper clip, and they just look gorgeous clipped onto the page. So I'll show you how to make the basic flower, and then if we have time we'll try and make a paper clip, but I'm not sure if I've got everything I need for them. So I'm making these ones out of all music paper. I just took a music book and I've cut out 13 circles, and these ones are just, when you cut out the circles, you always end up with like bits of paper and page, you know, left over. And I mean, these ones I'll use for doing my little in today. These ones I'll use to do little scrap projects with and to make clusters with. But the ones that are big enough to be cut out by the 1-inch punch, I'll just cut them out, so I've got a constant supply of these, and whenever I get a chance I just sit down on a night and make me flowers up. So it's very simple. You need to choose one that's going to be your bottom, Now I usually choose one that's not very interesting because you want the pretty ones to be on show. So we'll just go through them and we'll choose the one that's the least interesting, that's got the least amount of stuff on it. And this is just a case of personal preference, you know. You just choose whichever one you want. If you haven't got any that have got like that are plain, then that's fine. You can alternatively cut the base out of just a plain piece of paper because it's not going to show, so that's going to be fine. So we'll keep that one as our base. I'm just going to take the cardigan off because it's a bit warm today, so excuse me. Right, now I'm showing you on this size because this size is easier to show you, but I will show you how like some of the process on the little ones. They're a bit more fiddly, but it is basically the same process. So you simply get your page, you fold it, but you don't want to crease all the way to the edge because you want to have some bulk to it, you know. You don't want to flatten it all together, and then you just fold it in thirds. Now this is kind of by eye. If you wanted to be very, very particular, then you can measure it, but I just do it by eye. And you just fold 1/3 over, try and get it to be equal, and again don't fold the edges, and then you just fold this piece over, and it's as simple as that. It doesn't have to meet at the top. In fact, sometimes if there's a little bit of a difference, it gives it a little bit more texture on the flower. So once you've got those two folds, we're going to get our glue, and I'll simply put a little line of glue straight across and then fold it back over. Just give it a minute while the glue sets, and that's your first petal. And because you're not putting loads of glue on, it doesn't require too long to glue. So we'll just keep doing these petals, and once you start getting to do them, you'll find that it becomes really easy and you'll get very quick at them. So fold in half, and then fold that half into 2/3, and then just pinch the bottom halfway. I would say go half the way up with the fold because you need the fold and you need it to stick very nicely there, and then we'll pop some glue on. And I'm just going to do a line across, because with a line across, what you're getting is this part's glued to that part, and then this part's going to glue to that part, so it's well glued down and it's not going to suddenly flip open. And just hold it for a minute and then pop that down. Now we'll just keep on making these, and all I'm doing is I'm just looking at the paper to see which bit that I want to show. So when you're going to put these on, you want to put them so that the folded side is down, so then the part that's going to become seen is this bit at the top. So I'll show you. Once you've folded it, that's going to be the part that's going to be seen just there. So you pick your most interesting piece, give it a quick squidge down, and then we'll fold it into thirds. There we go. And then what we're going to do then is just give it a line of glue. And what I would suggest is, when you're folding them, whichever way you decide to fold them, keep going in that direction. So I'll show you what I mean with that. That one's quite interesting. I like the music on the back there, so I'm going to keep that to the top. So if you start folding them this direction, so this side first, keep on doing it that way. If you fold them that side first, keep on doing it that way. It's just going to give you a consistency in the petals that you're making. And once you've got, you know that you've got them all lined up, then give them a really good crease. And we'll just keep on doing this. It's a really nice craft. I like doing this one on a night, just sitting in front of the telly, because you don't really have to pay that much attention to it. Once you get used to making them, it just becomes second nature. So you can literally do it on autopilot, and then you know it's a nice little craft. And before you know it, you've got a nice stack of flowers, and you can pop them all into a little box and keep them for any projects that you've got coming up. These do make absolutely beautiful decorations for when you're wrapping paper, especially if you use like a plain like brown paper. And it just gives them that nice antique feel. And I have also made them and then dip the edges in glitter. And what I'll do is, I'll show you. Well, let me see, let me get to. I'll dip the edges in glitter. So see here, I've distressed them. What I'll do is I'll dip them in glue and then I'll dip them in glitter so they're all glittered round. And then I'll stick two together like that with a ribbon in the middle. And then that's a lovely little tree decoration. So yeah, they're so versatile. There's so many different ways of using them. And we'll just carry on. And I don't know about you, but when it comes to wrapping presents, you know, I really enjoy wrapping them. So sometimes you've just got to give them another squidge down to make sure they're sticking. So I really go all out with my presents. For me, the most important part is how they look when they're wrapped. I know that sounds silly, but it's just my personal thing. I love looking under the tree and seeing all these beautifully wrapped presents. I think it shows a little bit of extra love and care when you're wrapping a present up for someone, if you do something a little bit special. And in the junk journals, like I say, these make absolutely beautiful altered paper clips and page decorations, and they're absolutely great for your covers. They give a little bit of dimension. And so when you're making a cover, and you know, sometimes I've done it myself, when you look at a cover and you think it just looks a bit flat, it just, you know, it's not, there's no dimension there, there's no life there. You pop a couple of these lovely flowers on and you've got suddenly got not just dimension, but you've got vintage paper and pretty gems, and it just brings things to life. I think I just really like them. Like I say, there's lots of different ways of making these flowers, and there's lots of other different flowers. And you know, with paper, what's the one thing that a junk journaler usually has too much of? It's paper, especially vintage paper. If you're anything like me, I am a mad collector. So yeah, I tend to have lots of paper lying around, and this is just a nice way of using it up and showcasing that paper. I mean, the music book that I've got this out of is, I think, 80 years old. This paper's not going to be used again, you know. It's going to end up stuck on a shelf in a charity shop and then eventually put into the skips. This way, it's got a nice new life and it's going to look very pretty. And if I make them into Christmas tree decorations, they may even end up being passed down through generations, you know. So there you go. That's the way I see it. You're giving it a new lease of life. I'm sure there are people out there who love vintage books who scream at us junk journalists, don't destroy it. But what else is going to happen to them? Let's be honest. They're going to end up in a landfill somewhere. I'd much rather pull them apart and use them for something that's very pretty and very precious. So how many have we got? We've got 3, 6, 9. We want one more. Actually, I must have cut more circles out than I needed. So we want one more, and then I'll show you how to put the petals together. So again, I'll show you again. You just fold it in half. The piece that you want needs to be in the center of the back, and then you just fold it in 2/3. Go in the same direction with each one, and then once you fold it halfway up, and once you've got your crease in, then just a line of glue, fold it back up and just give it a quick press to make sure it stays down. And then we'll pop these ones aside. It's very simple to put them together. Simply put some glue. Now you're going to do 2 layers because it takes 6 of these pieces to go around the flower, and it is as simple as lining them up. Now you want that folded edge so that your bulk of your flower is on top and that folded edge is down, and that way you're going to get more bulk in the flower. And it is simple. It is just as simple as It's like putting a cake back together, you know, when you cut a cake. You know how it goes. Oh, I want some cake now. And try and keep them all going the same direction, because as you can see, you're getting that kind of lifted edge all going all the same direction, and that just aesthetically it's more pleasing, and it's, you know, it feels right. And then we just give it a really good press down, trying not to fold those edges because you want that bulk. That's what gives the flower life. You can make these flat, and I have made them flat in the past, and as you can see, sometimes they go flat anyway without you even thinking it. If you're making the smaller ones, it's very difficult to keep the bulk in them, but sometimes you want that flat because you can put that on a page, and that's going to look great. So we've done our first layer. Now just round again with the glue. Don't need lots of glue. And what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to keep them going the same direction. So that folded edge, this one just needs a little touch more glue. That folded edge is going to go the same. Now you're not going to put them on top of each other. You want them to fit in between the gap. So you see there's a little gap in between those two. That's going to be where I put this petal. And then that's it, simple as that. And then we're going to keep going round exactly the same as the first layer, sorry. But you're kind of offsetting on the first layer, and that way you're not going to have any gaps going all the way down, and you're not going to have any flat places where it's been pressed down too much. It gives you a little bit more bulk, if you get me meaning. And then you need to press the centre really well to make sure that the glue spreads out and adheres to all the different petals. And what you end up with is this nice little flat area in the middle, and that's perfect for putting on whatever decoration you want. Now I've got some old jewellery. As I say, I love going to there's a local flea market where I go, and there's a lovely woman there, and she sells all sorts of old jewellery. See if I've got anything in this one. Don't think there's anything in that one. Let's have a look in this one. These I got from the works, actually. They're actually a craft thing. Oh well, we've got some nice flowers. That would look quite nice. Oh, that one's nice, isn't it? Oh, I like that one. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that one. You see how simple that is, and then suddenly you've got this beautiful jewel. And this is just an old pendant. Yep, it's been on a it's got the little hooks in. Because it's got the little hooks in, I'm going to have to use a lot of glue underneath it, because obviously you want it to adhere. So I'm just going to make a little pool in the middle. There we go. And then once I put this on, probably going to need a little bit more than that. There we are. That should flatten out. There we go. And then while that's adhering, I'm just going to quickly go around the edge. Now I'll just go around the top, and get the top petals, and then I just kind of rub along the edges of the side. You can ink these before you do them, but to be fair, you're not going to really see it that much, so you could sit there inking for ages, and really this is going to give you the inked edge that you need. Just give it a good, there we go, and then it's all inked up. Maybe there's a little bit more ink around the edge. There we go. And there we are, we've got a finished flower, and that's going to be absolutely gorgeous. In fact, with that jewel on, which probably cost me pennies, because I buy the junk jewellery in bags, and it's usually £1 a bag. That now looks like a really expensive piece of ephemera that you've bought from a proper art shop or something, and what it is, you've just made it with some old paper, an old piece of jewellery, and a little bit of time. So that's that one. I'm just going to show you quickly. I'm not going to do a full small one, And I'll tell you why, because the small ones can be fiddly and you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'll pop that over there, and I'm going to use that as the centre. I will just do a couple and show you it's exactly the same process. So I choose which side I want to be showing, and I'm going to put that to the top of the back in exactly the same manner. But what you'll see is it's really hard not to flatten it down, but that's okay because you don't need all the bulk in it. And then just give it a pinch, and then what I normally do is I just fold a load, and then I'll glue them all together at the same time. But for the purposes of the video, I'm just going to quickly do it now. Doesn't need a lot of glue, just a little. And then it's exactly the same. You just stick that like that, and then you make a pile of them. One there at the top. And like I says, as you get used to this, you know, it becomes easier and easier. And then just give it a glue. It's a perfect thing to do when you're sitting watching the telly or sitting in the garden. And then when you get them, you just stick them on exactly the same way. And like I say, I usually sit on a night, and I'll show you my box that I've got. Look at all them that I've already got folded. Now these are all made out of old book page, and there's a couple of sewing ones in there. And I'll just sit and fold them like this on a night, and then, you know, I'll glue them all together at the same time, and then put the flowers together. So I do them in a process in like different stages, and that way I find it easier, because I can just, you know, I can just sit and do it all at different times. And I've got my little box that I just carry about with us. Sometimes if we're going on a car journey, I'll take them in the car and I'll sit and do them in the car. And you can just sit and fold them, and so you get lots of little bits that look like this, and then you sit and glue them, and you get lots of little bits that look like this. And then you start putting them together, and suddenly you've got loads of little flowers. And then I put them all together, and then I'll ink them and decorate them. So that's basically how I do the flowers, and I hope that you've enjoyed that. I was going to try and do a paperclip, but I think I'll do it in another video because I can't remember where I've put my paper clips. I've been reorganizing, and now I can't find anything. I tell you, I'm just a nightmare. You know what I'm like. I'm constantly losing stuff. So I thought, well, I'll organize, and I'll tidy everything up, and I'll put it in its place, and I'll have everything where I can put my hands. I can't find anything. I don't know what I've done with it. So I'm gonna have to reorganize and re-find everything. And when I do, I will make a paper clip, an altered paper clip using the flowers, and show you how I do them. But they're very simple. I mean, it really is just a case of you put your paper clip on, put the glue round, and stick another circle on the back, and then just leave them, and then you've got your nice paper clip. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you give these a go, because like I say, they are fun to make, and you can make them any size you want, and you can use them for loads of different things. They're very, very versatile. They're lovely for, like I say, wrapping, for making decorations. I've seen people actually use these on a put an old frame on the wall, and then just have these clustered in a corner at different sizes to make a wall decoration, and they looked, because they used old vintage jewellery, it looked beautiful. But as for using them in junk journals, yeah, you can use them for cover art, you can use them for page art, you can use them for altered oh, I've moved that, altered paper clips. You can use them, just dot them about, just, you know, pop them here and there, and make your junk journal a little bit more interesting. You could even use them as fasteners, you know, if you're going to make an envelope, you could pop a little magnet in the back, and that could be your little fastener for your envelope. There's loads of different ways of using them, so do give them a go. And if you come up with some new ways of using them, drop us a comment and show us, and if you can, pop a picture, because I'd love to see the different ways that people use them. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope that you stay safe, and I hope that you're all healthy and keeping well, and happy crafting. Bye.